In the last couple of days, you've probably read all the rumors and reports about Intel and Broadcom and Qualcomm and TSMC. Are they going to buy parts of Intel? Are they going to partner up with Intel, joint ventures, etc., etc.? And what does that mean for Intel as a whole? What does that mean for Intel shareholders like you and me? Because essentially, if Intel Foundry gets split up, right, gets acquired by TSM or Broadcom, and then the other side, the design side of things, gets taken over by Qualcomm or also maybe a Broadcom. Who knows? What does that mean for Intel? Does Intel cease to exist? Some say yes. Some say they will just get dissolved into those companies. So what does that mean for us shareholders? Well, so far it means speculations, and it means that the stock year to date is up 17.7%, which of course is outperforming the market and a lot of other companies out there. Currently, the market cap of Intel sits at $102 billion. It is cheap in my opinion, and I'll explain why. If you enjoy this type of videos, hit all the buttons. We're very close to reaching 80,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate all of you being here. If you want to support me even further, do check out the link down in the description and hit the pin comment to the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. Thank you very much. Now, I do first want to show you some multiples here. So I'm showing you EV to EBITDA and EV to sales in the next 12 months. Here you have Marvell, Nvidia, Broadcom, AMD, Qualcomm, and Intel. What you can clearly see is from a pricing perspective, Intel is the cheapest of them all. Of course, Intel has the most uncertainties, but still, there is quite a big disconnect here. What I also want you to see is that Qualcomm, despite it being quite a good business right now, also trades at a discount compared to all the other players. Some food for thought. So right now, what do we have? Well, we have here Intel, and Intel being circled around by some sharks. So you've probably read some of the headlines and reports, so I'll start with this one from the Wall Street Journal. Broadcom, TSMC weigh possible Intel deals that would split storage chip maker. Broadcom has interest in Intel's chip design business and marketing department, of course, while TSMC is looking at the company's factories. Now, this is very important to note, right? Because a couple of months ago, Pat Gelsinger, the previous CEO, retired, probably got ousted, didn't really retire because it just came out of nowhere, and at the time of making this video, still no CEO being announced. Now, Frank Yeary, the interim executive chairman of Intel, apparently has been leading the discussions with possible suitors and Trump administration officials who are concerned about the fate of a company seen as critical to national security, people familiar with the matter said. Yeary has been telling individuals close to him that he is most focused on maximizing value for shareholders. Yeah, sure. Where has he been all these years, right? If you don't know who he is, this is basically him. And these are, well, the other members of the board. Not all of them, because we've got, at the end of 2024, we've got two new ones, two actual people that have been working in the semiconductor industry with some engineering and some semiconductor experience, right? Because the board is mainly business people, MBA type of people. So, yeah. Continuing here, a White House official said the president was unlikely to support a deal that involved a foreign entity operating Intel's factories. Aspects of the talk between TSMC and Intel, as well as the Trump administration's involvement in them, were previously reported by DigiTimes. Intel's board of directors is now searching for a new CEO whose mission may depend on what parts of the company are left to run. The board has hired recruiters Spencer Stewart to organize the search, which is now more than 2 months old. So again, yeah, you're looking for a CEO, but you're looking at a CEO that does what? That runs the whole of Intel, that just runs the Intel design side of things. Which part of Intel is he going to run, right? It's quite a crazy time if you ask me, because believe it or not, Intel still a huge company, very, very important to the semiconductor industry, well, to the world. So yeah, this right here, having co-CEOs, not knowing who's the next CEO going to be, these rumors of Intel Foundry being acquired, Intel's chip design department being acquired, or side of the company being acquired. It's crazy times. And as shareholders, well, of course, we like to see the stock go up, but we would also like to see some steadiness in that company. And remember, in the last earnings call, they said the following. As you will recall, we announced our intention to establish an independent subsidiary structure for Intel Foundry to provide clear governance and operational separation. This structure also enables us to seek additional funding options from both strategic and financial partners, which we are now actively beginning to explore. So this was already from the earnings call. Now, any deal involving TSMC and other investors taking control of Intel's factories would require a sign-off from the US government. The CHIPS Act of 2022 established a $53 billion grant program for domestic chip making, and Intel was the largest recipient of funding under it, getting up to $7.9 billion to support new factories in Ohio, Arizona, and other locations in the United States. To be honest, this $53 billion is really a drop in the bucket when you look at the overall semiconductor industry, right? And that $7.9 billion that goes to Intel is also a small number compared to $100 billion of investment that Intel planned on making in the next 10 years or so. So there is that. Now, as part of that deal, Intel was required to maintain a majority share of its factories if they were spun off into a new entity. So, if there is any deal that's going to happen, Intel still needs to be the majority shareholder of the Intel Foundry side. Unless of course, well, the deal has changed, right? The CHIPS Act, the deals there, all of it has changed, maybe signed off by the new president, remains to be seen. But this has always been an issue here. This has always been an issue here. Plus, also, if there is an acquisition of Intel, whether it's Intel Foundry or the design side of things, you're going to need regulatory approval from the United States, from China, from Europe as well. The report from the Wall Street Journal also said the following: the deal also faces operational complexities. Intel's factories have largely been set up to produce Intel chips, and the company has only started trying to make chips for external customers in the past few years. Retooling Intel factories to make advanced chips TSMC's way would be a significant and costly engineering challenge. I disagree. I disagree because Intel actually got the new equipment from ASML before TSMC. So I don't really think that that's going to be an issue, plus or as big of an issue. Plus, if we go and look at a report by SemiWiki here, the open forum for semiconductor professionals, they talked a little bit about TSMC 2 nanometer, they talked a little bit about Samsung as well. This is basically the conclusion. TSMC has disclosed a 2 nanometer process likely to be the densest available 2 nanometer class process. It also appears to be the most efficient, at least when compared to Samsung. In terms of performance, we believe Intel 18A is the leader. The early yield reports appear promising, but the reports of $30,000 per wafer pricing do not, in our opinion, represent acceptable value for the process and may present an opportunity for Intel and Samsung to capture market share. TSMC 2 nanometer should be in production in the second half of the year. So yeah, we've been talking a little bit about Intel 18A and how they actually have a little advantage over TSMC. Now, of course, there are still some talks about the yield, who has better yield. There have been some reports with some, well, ridiculous reporting, let's be honest. But yeah, do not sleep on Intel 18A. I know a lot of people would already disregard that, but this is something for the second half of this year. Volume production is going to start. Of course, Intel is their first customer, and MJ said it during the call. As their first customers, of course, they're thinking about, well, having the best product available for them, but also making sure that it's the best product available for external customers. Because there's no point having a foundry business if you are your own customer, and that's about it. We've also had other reports here. So apparently TSMC is considering a 20% stake in Intel Foundry Services division to expand Intel's wafer manufacturing capabilities. This could involve either a technology evaluation or direct capital injection. Qualcomm and Broadcom are also expected to join as investors, focusing on securing advanced chip production capacity without managing the fabs. Reports also suggest TSMC and Broadcom are independently exploring deals that could reshape Intel, possibly splitting the company into chip manufacturing and design divisions. Meanwhile, Qualcomm and Broadcom aim to secure local manufacturing capacity while balancing competition from MediaTek, which has surpassed Qualcomm in smartphone chip shipments. Intel's interim chairman, Jeffrey Yellen, has been in talks with potential partners, and analysts see these steps as paving the way for a spin-off of Intel's chip-making business. Now then we have here TrendForce that basically, does a quick recap. So Intel TSMC Broadcom deal possibilities. So the scenario where Intel Foundry is spin-off, so you have either a spin-off with TSM or Broadcom and Qualcomm. So here we have TSMC may acquire 20% stake through investment or technology valuation. The challenges and benefits here is Trump is unlikely to allow a foreign firm to run Intel's fab, making a joint venture less likely. Again, I don't think this is true. This is a 20% stake, so there is still 80% left for, an American to take over, or just Intel. So yeah, this just doesn't make much sense. Now with regards to Broadcom and Qualcomm, the chip giant likely to invest to boost innovation and help Intel recover, focusing on advanced capacity without involvement in fab operations. The challenges or benefits here, Broadcom may bid only if a partner takes Intel's manufacturing unit. So you might have TSMC take one side, Broadcom taking the other side. But again, as I've discussed in previous live streams, Broadcom just completed a huge acquisition, which was VMware. I just don't see them doing just another one like this. But then again, if there is one company that has been extremely successful with huge investments and acquisitions, it has to be Broadcom. And then the other options are this. With TSMC, building a US advanced packaging plant or having Intel handle future US packaging orders. Challenges and benefits here are TSMC's 4nm chips need to be packaged in Taiwan, and Intel's capabilities avoid similar delays. We also know with TSMC that their R&D center is in Taiwan, which means that the most advanced nodes are still going to be in Taiwan and not in the United States. Some people are saying, okay, maybe they will have to build an R&D center in the United States next to their fabs there in order to also make the most advanced chips in the United States. Now, of course, pricing wise in the United States is probably going to be a bit more expensive than in Taiwan. Those are things that have been made quite clear during the last earnings call. So yeah, to me, if TSMC does take a 20% stake through investments or technology valuation, I think I'm fine with that. I think I'm fine with that, with Intel still owning 80% of Intel Foundry. I think the combination of both, I think that could be a success story. And plus the Intel design side, right, is still quite a good business. So CCG generated $30.2 billion. Data center and AI $12.7 and next $5.8 billion. So that's a total of $48.7 billion for 2024. You put a 2x multiple on that and you get $97.4 billion, which is quite close to Intel's market cap today with just a 2x multiple on that revenue. Then this is without foundry business. The foundry business has generated last year $17.6 billion. You also have the other side, the Mobileye, etc. Those have generated $3.8 billion in 2024. So all in all, that's $118.8 billion. Okay, $118.8 billion, which is more than what the company is worth today. I only put a 2x multiple on all of this business here, that $48.7 billion. I did not put any multiple on the foundry side. I did not put any multiple on the others here as well. Let's even put this one at 1x, right? Just 3.8. The foundry one can be a 2x, can be a 3x, can even take it to a 5x, right? Because in my eyes, I do think that Intel Foundry is going to be a success. I think as 18A volume production does ramp up, we're going to see those losses narrow, and it should be worth more than just a 2x multiple for that business. But just to be conservative here, just with these assumptions right here, we are close to being 18%, 17% higher than the market cap that we're at today. So yeah, again, I'll say this again and again. I think whoever gets to buy Intel's business today, the foundry side or the chip design side at a huge discount that Intel is trading at today, is going to be a huge winner, and should definitely thank Intel's board for firing Pat Gelsinger, for making sure that Intel does stay undervalued and does not go back on top. Because to me, Pat was the perfect CEO. His vision was pretty clear, and it's pretty clear to me that the board, and especially Frank Yeary, went behind his back and started to talk shop with some other players, which probably led to Pat leaving or getting fired from Intel. So me as an Intel shareholder right now, the best scenario is, to me personally, Intel continues as an independent company, because I do really think that it is undervalued and that it's going up, maybe not as fast as previously expected, but I do expect Intel to be worth way more than $102 billion in the next couple of years. If we do get some involvement by TSMC with regards to Intel Foundry, as long as Intel does remain the majority shareholder of that part, I think we'll be fine as well. And if not, I hope they spin it off and we get a high premium, so we do get some shareholder value out of this whole circus show. As for the design side of things, I think that side, well, even the 2x multiple that I'm putting up here, right, is quite conservative. So Qualcomm, Broadcom, whoever, I really hope they do pay up and we get a nice premium. But yeah, I sure hope that Intel does become a success and it stays Intel, because it would be very, very strange to have a semiconductor industry with no Intel anymore. Of course, I'm a shareholder. There are maybe some emotions here. I might be biased, but this is what I'm feeling right now. I have no plans on selling any shares. If someone wants to buy my shares, you will have to pay up, and well, pay up a little bit more than the $23, $24 per share that we're at right now. So all in all, that's about it. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Like, subscribe to all of that, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.